for me, first time doing a real series lead, title character, superhero, there wasn't a lot not to like.
The day Oliver Queen died is the day something new was born.
I didn't think that there was any chance that I was gonna get the part because I thought that my Canadian agent jinxed it. You know what I mean? I had been sitting with my cousin at a hockey game and he had said, have you read the script for Arrow? I said, nope. And he said, normally when I read a pilot script, I picture me. This time I read the pilot script and I pictured you. So you should probably get an appointment for that. The appointment came through 2 days later. And 5 minutes after that, my Canadian agent sent an email to everybody and he's like, Stephen, this is the one that you've got to get. This is awesome. And I went, well, great. It's gone now, forever. It wasn't until I read the pilot and I had a picture of it in my head and I pictured it the way that I wanted it to be. And then I asked the creative team what their vision was for it, and the two things just synced up perfectly. So at that point, and then, you know, you book your screen test, you're going and you're starting to test for it, and then you just want it. For me, first time doing a real series lead, title character, superhero, there wasn't a lot not to like.
I am Arrow.
It would be great for me if the audience respected the Oliver Queen character. They don't necessarily have to like him, as long as they respect his methods. If they think that he's not virtuous, then that's a problem. But for me, it was more, I totally trusted David Nutter, who directed our pilot. And you know, he's putting as much of his reputation on the line as I am. Actually, I think probably more so. And he constantly made a point of saying to me, you and me, we're in this together. And the first day that we were coming to set for hair and makeup tests, sort of like the first day of school for everybody, all the departments are there. I'd been up there for a couple of weeks, but it was arriving at the studio and seeing what seemed like 700 cars and thinking, oh, all of these people are here for a show called Arrow in a pilot in which I'm in 97% of the scenes, and if I do a bad job, we're not gonna get picked up. That lasted for about 5 minutes, and then I was okay.
The island forged me into a weapon, and I will use it against the criminal and the corrupt.
I loved playing sports growing up. I was super competitive, almost to a fault. And I hadn't really played organized sports since high school. So I remember coming into this opportunity and thinking about it like, well, here's my chance again to have a reason to really, really push myself. You know, I stayed in shape before, but it wasn't like this. And we're still toying with the idea of what the ideal physical shape for this is. I mean, there was one thing for the pilot, which was I was probably a little bit bigger and bulkier than I am now because I was cognizant of the fact that I didn't have a great deal of size. And so I put it on quickly. And then for now, it's more, okay, let's make the body as functional as possible and focusing on the core. And I'm learning how to kick, which is developing, you know, legs and hips and glutes, and it sucks. But it's really fun. It's fun because once you sort of get on the path where, you know, you've gone through the initial soreness and the initial I can't believe I have parts of my body that hurt that I didn't even know I could have sensation in. Once you get past that and you get on a runway towards, you know, really pushing yourself, that's when things get fun. Absolutely. Nothing can happen on the show that can't happen in real life. We had a discussion on the second episode where there was some discussion of having me fire an arrow, basically hold the bow in reverse and then pull out like this so that the arrow fires this way. And fight choreographer, stunt coordinator, me, balked at the idea because that doesn't make sense. Would never do that. So we're creating all this stuff that, like you said, that you can do in real life. And as we've gotten onto the show, the pilot, they treated me with kid gloves a little bit because it's just the pilot. I'm in every scene, and if I sprain my ankle, we are up you-know-what creek. For this, we have less time to shoot it. We have less opportunity to set up these big shots. So what we're getting more of sort of a guerrilla feel. We have a bunch of scenes in the second episode where there are these big fight scenes, and it's just a steady cam circling around. And in that case, it's all me. And I mean, it's fun. Like we're taking stuff and we're really applying it, and it's really cool to see on camera. Like that a fight is going to come out well when you can just watch a cut of it at the monitors before sound is in there, before they put the cut in, before they color correct it, and you're like, that's awesome. So I'm really excited for episode 2.
What happened to you on that island?
A lot.
Prior to this with Green Arrow, I had no exposure. I was always DC oriented growing up, which was random, but we'll pretend that it wasn't now. I read Superman and Lobo, and I read Green Lantern a little bit, and then Spawn, which wasn't Marvel or it was Marvel or DC Comics. But the pilot was pretty much all encompassing, and they gave me a stack of Green Arrow books to read. I didn't until after the pilot, and then after the pilot I read everything. And to have Mike Grell, who I loved his books a lot, to have him illustrate the little comic that we gave out at the convention, I mean, that was pretty awesome. And now I have a new appreciation. I went to a panel at Comic-Con and watched Jim Lee sketch Batman. Like, this is pretty awesome. So I'm getting more into the books now, and it's easy with the iPad too. One of the things that we didn't get to touch on that much in the pilot was my relationship with Diggle, my bodyguard. There was a scene from Act 5 that had to be cut, which I totally understand, which we basically pick up in the second episode, and I knew that we would. That relationship is critical because Oliver has post-traumatic stress disorder, which we haven't. He must. I mean, we see what he sees in the pilot, and there's no way that he's not affected by that. The island broke him down to nothing before it built him back up to what he was. So there's no way that he's not affected by that. So we're going to see how he deals with post-traumatic stress disorder. And Diggle served in Afghanistan. So that relationship is really dynamic. There is a parade of DC villains coming, just based on episode 2 and episode 3. We have China White for the second episode. We have Deadshot for the third episode. And I wouldn't expect that parade to stop. And then it's easy to come back into Starling City and hug everybody hello when you've been gone for 5 years, but then it's the matter of, okay, that initial it's good to see ya has worn off. How is he going to reintegrate himself back into Starling City and into his family and his friends and his ex-girlfriends and of course we have Colin and Katie and Willa, and a very distinct lineage for all of their characters. So is that going to happen? When's it going to happen?